Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us for our Limitless broadcast. In keeping with our current topics of emotional intelligence and your feelings matter, today I'm going to talk about love. I'm going to talk about the 5 love languages, and I'm also going to talk about the 4 different types of love discussed in the Bible based on the Greek language. I'm not a Greek scholar. I'm sure I won't pronounce those names the right way, but I will try, and I'll try to give you the best description of them that I can. So today, as we talk about the 5 love languages, the 5 love languages is a concept that was brought up or researched or put together by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's a book that he wrote several years ago. And in this book, he's done research and he's done studies and he's counseled people and he's talked to lots of people about what some of their basic needs are in a relationship. This can be a marriage relationship, this can be a familiar relationship, this can be friendship, just any kind of relationship. He came up with the understanding that there are 5 basic needs that we all have. And while some of us may display all of these needs, we usually lean towards 1 or 2 as the main needs that we need fulfilled in order to feel loved, appreciated, and cared for in a relationship. So I'm going to talk about these 5 love languages. And as I'm talking, something may strike you. You may feel like, oh, that's me. That's what I need to feel understood. Or that's what I need to feel loved. And if that's the case, great. Write it down. You can go online. There are free love language assessments, tests that you can take to see what yours is. Or you may just figure it out today. I'm not quite sure. You also need to know that the way that you receive love may not be the way that you give love. That's something that a lot of people don't understand as well. They think that just because they receive love a certain way, that's how they should give it to everybody. But that's not always the case. A part of being in a relationship with people is learning how they receive love and deciding if you want to try to help fill their love tank, because that's what it's called. We have a love tank that all these little deposits go into, and when we've received them the right way, our love tank is full and we're happy and we feel loved and we feel appreciated. When our love tank is empty, we feel grumpy. That's basically what it boils down to. You're just grumpy. You feel like nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to be your friend. I don't know if you're familiar with Disney and Eeyore, but that's usually where it goes. I'm not happy. I'm not loved. My family don't care about me. My friends don't understand me. If you feel that way, my friend, you have an empty love tank. So, the first person that we should always look to fill our love tank is Jesus if we're in relationship with him. And then there are other people around us who can also fill our love tank. So today, as we talk about the love languages, I think I'm just going to go through them one by one. And then we'll talk about them all at the end. And then we'll go through the 4 types of love from the Greek language. And then we'll go from there. But the first love language is words of affirmation. If you are a words of affirmation person, you feel most loved by verbal acknowledgments. When someone says to you a genuine verbal acknowledgement, when someone says to you, you know what, I think you're great. You're probably one of the best friends that I've ever had. You are such a hard worker. You are so kind. You are so caring. You put so much into the things that you do, and they verbally acknowledge something great about you. You're a words of affirmation person. You like to be affirmed by people genuinely speaking into your heart and depositing those beautiful words there that mean so much to you. You also probably like written cards, handwritten cards. One of my favorite things to do is to buy someone a card and then write them a letter inside the card. I just think it's sweet and it's genuine, and usually words of affirmation people really love that and they really receive it well. You also probably like letters, handwritten letters, or in this day and age, emails, text, any kind of written confirmation that says, I love you, or I should have said affirmation, any kind of written affirmation that says, I love you, I'm thinking about you. When you're a words of affirmation person, those things really touch your heart and they really mean a lot to you. One of the major ways that people who are words of affirmation people receive their affirmation is through encouraging words, compliments, words that affirm. When you're a words of affirmation person, you like being complimented. And it's not about vanity. It's not about needing to feed your ego. It's more about, I put in an effort to look nice and someone noticed it. I really appreciate them complimenting the way that I did my hair or the way that I did my makeup, or for you guys, the way that you make sure your clothes match and you present yourself well. If you're a words of affirmation person, those things really mean a lot to you. So when you're receiving those things, you feel great, you feel loved, you feel like you have everything that you need in a relationship. But when you're not receiving those things, you feel depleted. You feel like all you're doing is giving and everybody else is taking. You feel misunderstood. You feel like you just can't get it right and maybe this relationship isn't working. And it may not be that it's not working. It may just need to be that you have to have a courageous conversation with your family member, your friend, or your husband or wife or your partner, and you have to say, I need more of this from you. I need to hear more how you feel about me. I need more affirmation from you than I'm getting. And then the two of you work through those things in a healthy and mature way so that your love tank is full. Most people who are words of affirmation definitely need to avoid emotionally harsh words. I know that nobody likes being told that they're stupid or they're ugly or things like that, but it really cuts to the core of someone who is a words of affirmation person, because you're so used to words affirming. When someone uses them to cut you down, it really hurts in a deeper way. So if you're feeling those things or you experience that, it could just be that you need more kind affirmation. Also, undue criticism. I think that we live in a world where undue criticism comes whether we want it to or not. Doesn't matter how well you try to put something together, doesn't matter how greatly you present it, there's gonna be a negative Nancy hanging out on the sidelines who has something to say about it that's not great. So when you're a words of affirmation person, those things can really be painful for you. Those things can really hurt. And we have to realize that in those moments, it's best for you to get along with those people who affirm you and those people who love you and those people who will speak into you and speak life into you, because that is what keeps you lifted up. Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the harsh, because that'll just keep you in the Eeyore stage. And we love Eeyore, but we don't want to just hang out with him all the time. Quality time is the second love language that I'm going to talk about. And quality time people, I'm a quality time person. We will suck you into a time warp and keep you for hours talking about fun things and sharing our heart with you and making you laugh, and you making us feel loved by giving us your attention, and you feeling loved by having our full undivided attention. And before you know it, 4 hours have passed and you gotta go, because where has the time gone? But when you're a quality time person, you love to have one-on-one time with people that you love, people that you value, people that you appreciate, people that you hold dear. You love that one-on-one interaction with them, just getting to know them. Even if you guys are telling the same stories that you've heard 100 times, it doesn't matter, because it's quality time with somebody that you really care about. That can be your mom or dad, your brother, your sister, can be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your best friend. It's not solely based on romantic affection. It's about a heart connection. Spending quality time with someone that you have a heart connection with fills your love tank. You feel loved, you feel appreciated, you feel like that person made time for you, and there's no one else in the world right now that needs your attention or deserves your attention more than just your friend that you're hanging out with. That's usually how it goes when you fill a quality time person's love tank. People who love quality time love it when you run errands with us or take walks together. One of the things that I hate to do the most is fold laundry. And if I have a friend who will come over and just talk to me while I fold laundry and hang up laundry, I love that because I get my chore done and I have someone's full undivided attention and we're just hanging out. I don't need you to help me with my laundry. I'm particular about that. But I would like for you to talk to me while I'm doing my laundry because we're just spending time together, just the two of us and the dogs. But anyway, we like to just hang out. People who love quality time, they just want to hang out with you. They don't really want anything from you. They just want to hang out with you and spend one-on-one time. Some of the things that you enjoy is going to quiet places, going out for coffee, going out for dessert, going out for meals, just being able to hang out, that undivided attention and one-on-one conversations. Some things that can be hard, though, if you're a quality time person, is too much time with groups of friends. A lot of times you just need some one-on-one time. You don't mind groups so much, but you also need friends who understand that one-on-one time is great, just the two of you hanging out. Isolation can be hard for people who are quality time people. Working too much and not making enough time for socialization, or just doing too much alone stuff can really be hard on people who are quality time people. Also, long gaps between quality time can be hard. If I have a friend and I haven't spent time with them in a long time, I don't feel as valued. And it takes us getting together and reconnecting in order for me to feel valued by that friend. It's just the way that I'm made up. I'm not trying to be picky or take up too much of someone's time, but when you have that quality time need, you have to have it to feel connected. It's just how it goes. The third love language that we're going to talk about is gifts. A person who's a gifts person, they have a pretty straightforward love language, you would think. But it's not just about gifts. If you're a gifts person, you don't just want somebody to go out and spend a ton of money on you and come home and say, here, I bought you all these things. Because then you look at them and you say, well, how does this green turtle remind me of you? Or how does this purple elephant remind me of you? Why did you buy me these things? And your friend's like, I just wanted to buy you something. If you're a gifts person, you want people to buy you gifts that are thoughtful and that are reminders of you, reminders of your friendship, or reminders of fun things that you've done together. You want gifts that are thought out. They don't have to be super expensive, but they do need to be thoughtful. They need to be things that remind you of that person. If you're a gifts person, you like for special occasions to be remembered. Birthdays, special holidays, special anniversaries, and you like a token during those times, a gift. It can be a small gift. Being a gifts person is not about materialism. It's about having a tangible item or item in your hand that says to that person, when I saw this, I thought of you. Because 6 months ago, when we were out shopping, you saw this same scarf and you wanted it, but you couldn't afford to buy it yourself, so I bought it for you. That's what really motivates a gifts person and makes their love tank feel full. Some of the things that we can do is not only give them gifts, but give them our time. Making sure if you have someone who's a gifts person and they have tasks that they need to complete, you can actually give the gift of your time in order to help them complete those tasks. That's a gift. Making sure you remember the special occasions with those small tokens. Some of the ways that you can communicate to a gifts person is by giving them gifts privately. It's not always about an extravagant open in the public giving of a big thing. Actually, gifts people like gifts to be given a little bit more privately so that you can talk to them and tell them why you bought this gift for them and why you thought of them when you saw the gift. Also, pleasant facial expressions when you give the gift. I mean, if someone, the man of my dreams, buys me a 2-carat Marquise diamond on a beautiful white gold or silver band, and he gives it to me, and he's not smiling and looking at me with love, I don't want it. I bought you this ring. Will you marry me? Answer's gonna be no every time. But if he comes to me and he's smiling with that beautiful bright smile and he says, I love you. I can't live without you. I bought this ring for you. Will you marry me? Of course I'm going to receive his ring. And if he's the right man, I'm going to marry him. We have to be mindful of those things when we give gifts. We have to be mindful of our body language as well. Nobody wants to be given something and reminded of how expensive it was or how laborious it was for you to get it for them. You always want to give it with joy. Things to avoid, like I said earlier, are materialism. It just being about the money and how much you spent on it, because then it's not a gift. It kind of becomes a burden. And forgetting those special occasions and those little tokens. If you have a gifts person, they're not going to feel loved if you do that. Our fourth love language is acts of service. This one can be a little bit tricky. And the reason it can be tricky is because when you are an acts of service person, or when you want to do an act of service for someone, it really needs to be something that helps them. It really needs to be something that helps them out. If you say, I'm going to do an act of service for you, but you just make a bigger mess for me to have to clean up, that wasn't an act of service. You made a mess, okay? Or if I like things done a certain way, let's say dishes, for instance. I like my dishes washed a certain way. I like the plates put in a certain way. I like the glasses put in a certain way. I like the silverware put in a certain way. If you say to me, hey, Sharika, I'm going to wash dishes for you. And I say, okay, thank you. If you just go in my kitchen and wash dishes and don't even put them in the dish drain, and you just sit them all over the countertop and leave a wet mess all over my countertop, that wasn't an act of service. That's just something I'm going to have to come behind you and clean up. You didn't actually help me. So when we're doing acts of service for people, we need to make sure that the way that we're serving them is actually helping. We need to make sure that we know that it's a way that they want to be served. Because they really appreciate that. They really appreciate it when someone comes along and takes some things off their plate or lightens their load or just comes alongside them and makes it just a little bit easier to get tasks done. One of the actions that we can do is with chores around the house. One of the chores that I hate the most is taking out the trash. It grosses me all the way out. But I have one of the greatest housemates in the world, and she takes care of all the trash. And when I wake up on Friday morning and the trash has been taken out and there's a new liner in the trash bin, I feel so loved because the trash has changed and I didn't have to do it. It's just as simple as that, but I cannot tell you how much it fills my love tank when the trash is taken out and it wasn't me. There are different things around the house that people don't enjoy. If your friend or your brother, or your sister, your mom, dad, whoever, your mate, if they don't enjoy doing laundry, maybe you could take over doing laundry. If they don't enjoy cleaning toilets and you don't mind it, maybe you could clean toilets. That's an act of service. An act of service is basically just an act of love that you go out of your way to do that will make someone else happy. And when you do the act of service, please don't remind them of it. And if you receive the act of service, please don't be critical of it. I know I used the example earlier of my dishes, but even if it's not done the way that you would like for it to do, in the moment, say thank you. And then later on, when emotions are good and everything's okay, you can say, hey, the next time you do dishes for me, do you mind putting the dishes in the dish drain? I would really appreciate that. And then the person can say, okay, sure. The next time they do dishes for you, they'll put them where you want them. It's a give and take, and it's all about being vulnerable and explaining in order for us to receive the things that we need. Some of the actions that we can do is, like I said, the chores around the house, just ongoing acts of helpfulness. If you know that this person has a to-do list, say, can I see your to-do list? Is there anything on your to-do list that I can do for you today? Can I pick up something for you from the store? Can I pick up your laundry? Can I pick up the kids from school? Can I come over and help you with cooking dinner? Or are there any chores that I can come over and help you with? Acts of service people love these things. And they don't want to be served because they're lazy. Most acts of service people want to be served because they're so busy doing acts of service for other people that they get a little bit behind on their own things. It just helps. It just helps to balance things out. Some of the things that you should avoid is forgetting promises or commitments that you've made. We really shouldn't make promises, but if you're a promise maker, make sure you remember and make sure you do them. But we can commit to doing things. We can say, yes, I will do that for you. And make sure you do the things that you say you're going to do. Also, making sure you don't overcommit and say, I can get that for you, plus I can get this for this person and that person, and then you end up dropping the ball and forgetting everything. That is not good. That is not going to make someone feel loved. Also, ignoring someone's need when you see them. If you see an acts of service person and they're drowning and they have all these things they need to do, you just ignoring them is very hurtful and very painful. It's so easy to just step in and say, how can I help you? What can I do for you to make your life a little bit easier? And do the thing that you said you were going to do. And if you're the person receiving the act of service, make sure you're grateful. Make sure you say thank you. Make sure you appreciate the person who did that for you, because then their love tank will be filled in turn. Our last love language is touch or physical touch. People who have physical touch as their love language feel love when they receive physical signs of affection. Kisses, hand holding, cuddling, physical intimacy, all these things can fall under touch. So with friends, good physical touch is hugging, giving your friend a good hug, maybe sitting close to them when you're having a conversation or you're discussing something deep. There are different levels of physical touch. A lot of times you say physical touch and people automatically think sex. And that has nothing to do with what I'm sharing here. What I'm talking about is being close to people and sharing a space with them. Loving them, hugging them. I have a friend who likes to give me a pat on the shoulder, and it is one of the sweetest things ever, because when she does that for me, I really feel affirmed. I feel like she notices me. I feel like she loves me, and she just gave me a little pat to say, hi, I'm here. Hi, I'm enjoying hanging out with you. Hi. And I just really appreciate that. People who enjoy physical touch just like being in the same space as you. They like being in the same room as you, actually, and just being there with you and being close to you. It's not always about actually touching you. Sometimes it's sitting closer to you on the couch, or you may be sitting diagonal from each other, but being able to maintain eye contact. That's a great one for people who enjoy physical touch. It's a connection. It's an actual physical connection, making sure that when we're having a conversation, we're making eye contact and you're looking at me and you're being sincere. All these things help so much, and they help to fill our love tank. But when we don't have these things, again, our love tank feels depleted. One of the ways that you can communicate when you're a physical touch person is pleasant facial expressions. Like I said, eye contact, smile, just giving a sweet little smile. I'm a winker. I like to wink at people. I know with some people it can be creepy, but mine aren't creepy. They're sweet. So sometimes I just give a wink as a way of affection. Mostly people who are physical touch people, it's nonverbal. It could be the pat. It could be putting your hand on someone's knee when you're having a conversation with them, or just wrapping your arms around them and saying, you know what, I think you're a great person. Giving them a good hug. Good hugs are great, and good hugs will help in almost any situation. Trust me. You're mad, a good hug. You're sad, a good hug. You're frustrated, a good hug. You're hungry, a good hug, and then some good food. And life is good. Some of the things to avoid when you have friends or family members who are physical touch, or you're in a relationship with someone who's in physical touch, is physical abuse. You want to avoid that in any situation. Doesn't matter what their love language is, but you most certainly want to avoid it in someone whose physical touch is, whose love language is physical touch. I don't even like to play fight. I know people do that and they like to wrestle and stuff like that. I don't like that. I don't want any kind of negative physical touch at all. So you may have someone who is a little more sensitive to that. Let it be okay. Be sensitive to them. Don't be upset with them if they don't want to play in that way. For kids especially, like corporal punishment or hard, unexplained spankings, that can be hard for them if they're physical touch. They're used to you touching them in a way that fills their love tank and fills them with love and care. But if you just give them hard, unexplained spankings, they really struggle with that because they're confused about the touch. Those hands that usually bring them joy and make them feel comforted is now bringing them pain. And that's a scary thing for a little kid. It's a scary thing for an adult too. Threats and neglect are also hard for people who are physical touch people. They're not things that you want to experience. They're nothing that anybody wants to experience. So let's make sure we're not doing those things to each other. The 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Those are pretty much the 5 things that we need to help fill our love tank and help us feel cared for. I am a quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation girl. Acts of service and gifts are a little lower on my list, but I will receive any kind of love because I love being loved. I think I've said that before, and it's true. I love being loved by people, by friends, by associates, by relatives, whatever. Love is great. In the Bible, there are 4 different types of love that's mentioned in the Greek language in the Bible in the way that it was written. And I just want to bring this up because oftentimes when we think about love languages or we think about emotional intelligence or we start to use the word love, people only want to associate it with the love between a husband and a wife. They only want to associate it with romantic love. And love is so much bigger than romance, guys. Romance is actually a byproduct of love. Romance is something that happens when you fall in love, when a man and a woman fall in love. Romance becomes a byproduct of that. But love is so much bigger than that. Love is so much bigger than Valentine's Day. Ooh. And that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the love that you have between your family, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters in the Lord, the love of God. All those things are so different and they have so many different definitions and expressions and measures. Don't just limit yourself to saying, oh, if I'm a man, I can only love a woman romantically and that's the only time I'll experience love. Or if I'm a woman, I can only love a man romantically and that's the only time I'll ever experience love. Because that's not true. There's so much more love to be had. The 4 types of love in the Greek mentioned in the Bible, and again, I'm not a Greek scholar, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing these the right way. The first one is storge, S-T-O-R-G-E. And it's a natural affection that you have for your family, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, people that you've known your whole life, that you've grown up around. It's just that naturally developed love and affection by those people who have helped nurture you and grow you from the time you were born. There's also eros, which is the romantic love between a husband and a wife. So you have that, you meet somebody, you lock eyes, you think they're cute, they think you're cute, you exchange phone numbers, you text and you stay up late laughing and giggling. And then you end up dating and you end up getting engaged and then you get married. That's eros. It's an erotic love. It's that romantic love that people often think about, don't always understand, but talk a lot about. And then you have philia, P-H-I-L-I-A. And that is the kind of love that is expressed between 2 friends. 2 people who are in a friendship and they really care about each other. They trust each other. You know that this is your confidant. You know that this is the person that you can talk to, that you can confide in, the person that you can trust. You have that kind of love. And that is a very beautiful thing too. Friendship is such a beautiful gift from God. It is such a amazing part of our lives that help us. And just as our families' love shape us and change us, friendships also shape us and change us. And then my favorite, absolute favorite definition of the word love is the agape love. And the agape love is the unconditional and unmerited love that we receive from God the Father. It's the love that came while we were still sinners and Christ died for us. It's the love that saw that we were but dust and still decided that we were his sons and his daughters and his children, decided that we were the sheep of his pasture. Jesus saw us and was so filled with his love that he decided that we were worth dying for because of it. And it is my absolute favorite expression of love. It is the desire of my heart to be a person who gives agape love regularly and continually, without question, without withholding, without holding back, without any expectation, just to love and be loved. Agape love is my favorite expression of God the Father. When I think about him and when I think about love, I was texting with someone yesterday or a few days ago and was talking about God, and I said, he is so beautiful. Sometimes that's the only phrase that I know to use to describe him, because I just have such a well of emotions and I get overwhelmed and I don't know what else to say. But it's in his beauty, it's in his love, it's in his goodness, it's in his kindness, it's in his character, it's in his nature. It is in who he is to love us unconditionally. God is love. If you don't remember anything else about him, remember that. If you don't pursue any other attribute about him or thing about him or want to know anything else about him, ask him to show you his love. Ask him to allow you to experience his love, because when you do, it will change your life. You will have no problem with these love languages. You will have no problem with these 4 types of love when you experience the love of God, because it will change you in ways that I don't have enough time to explain, or sometimes I don't even understand. I hope that this has helped you. I hope that it's taught you something. I hope that it's blessed you. I hope in some way it's brought you closer to the love of God and closer to the love of Jesus and just a deeper understanding of who we are in him. I pray that you have a great night or a great morning or a great afternoon wherever you are, and that your life is forever changed by love. Have a good night.